Hello, welcome back to MySQL tutorials. In this lecture, I'm going to explain about three-tier client-server architecture. The three-tier architecture is the most widely used software architecture for client-server applications. Now, I'm going to explain all the three-tier. The very first tier is client tier and also call it as presentation tier. This is the interface users interact with, such as web pages or mobile applications. It provides the user experience and forward request to the next tier. For example, in online banking transaction, imagine you want to transfer funds from your account to your friend's account. In the past, we would have to visit a bank, but now you can simply log into your bank's website on a computer or use a banking application, something like mobile app on your phone. Regardless of whether you use a web browser or mobile app, the interface you interact with is a part of the first tier, that is client tier. The next coming to application tier, or we can also call it as business logic tier, that is second tier. This layer processes user request and contains the business logic. In case of online banking, this is where authentication, fund transfer and other operations takes place. The next one is database tier, or we can call it as data tier, that is third tier. This is where actual database management systems resides. It stores and retrieves data, ensuring the information remains secure and organized. Why do we use three-tier architecture? It's a predominant in distributed systems. The three-tier model is widely used in remote access and distributed systems as it effectively separates concern. And the next one is logical and physical separation. Each tier is logically and physically independent, allowing for structured and modular systems. And the next one is independent infrastructure. Each tier operates on its own infrastructure. The client tier runs on its own devices like computers and mobile phones. The application tier runs on a separate web server. The database tier has its own dedicated database server. Because of this separation, these tiers can be developed and maintained independently. The next one is scalability and flexibility. Since each tier is independent, they can be scaled and upgraded separately without affecting the other layers. For example, if more users start using the banking app, the application server can be upgraded without modifying the database. The key benefits of the three-tier architecture. The first one is fast development. Different teams can work on each tier simultaneously. Better scalability. Each tier can scale independently based on demand, and improved reliability and security. Sensitive data is stored securely in database tier separate from application logic and user interface. With this, we have covered the fundamentals of the three-tier architecture and its advantages. I hope this gives you clear understanding of how it works. Now we'll see each and every layer in detail. The first one is presentation tier or client tier, or we can also call it as front end. The presentation tier, also known as the client tier or front end, is the topmost layer of the architecture. This is where user interact with the application. Now let's see what are the roles of the presentation tier. It acts as the interface between the user and the system. Users can access applications through web browsers or mobile apps. This tier is responsible for collecting and displaying the information. For example, if you want to check your bank balance, the balance is displayed on the screen, web page or mobile app. If you want to transfer the funds, you can enter recipient's details and the amount. And coming to the technologies used in this presentation tier, or if you are using web-based interfaces, we have to use HTML, CSS and JavaScript. And if you are using mobile applications, we need to use Android, iOS, React Native, Flutter. If you are using desktop applications, we need to use GUI based apps like Java and C Sharp. Now coming to the second one, the application tier. The application tier is the middle layer responsible for processing business logic. This tier is sometimes referred to as middleware tier because it acts as bridge between the presentation tier and the database tier. The roles of the application tier are which executes the business logic, for example, validating the transactions, applying business rules, and which is going to be process the user request and interact with the database tier, which handles the authentication, authorization, and calculations. For example, when you are transferring the money online, this tier validates your credentials, check your balance, process the transaction, and update the database. And now coming to the technologies which are used in this application tier are we can use as a programming languages Python, Java, PHP, Ruby, Perl, and so on. So, whereas coming to the frameworks, we can use Spring Boot framework, Django framework, Laravel framework, Express.js framework. And for communication with the databases, we are using API calls, application programming interface, to interact with the database tier. The application tier does not store data permanently. Instead, it retrieves and updates the information from the database tier. Next, we have database tier. The last one is database tier, also known as backend, is where data is stored, managed, and retrieved. And let's see the roles of the database tier, which stores and manages all data securely, and which handles the queries, updates, deletions, and transactions, and which is going to be interact only with the application tier, which is not directly interact with the users. For example, if you check your bank balance, this tier retrieves the stored balance from the database and sends it to the application tier, which then displays on your screen. Now, what are the technologies used in the database tier? There are two types of databases. One is RDBMS, another one is NoSQL databases. In case of you are using RDBMS database, we have MySQL, Oracle, Postgres, SQL Server, and so on. If you are using NoSQL databases, we have MongoDB, Cassandra, CouchDB. I hope this session is going to be helpful for you for giving the complete three-tier client-server architecture. In terms of the databases, we can also call it as three-tier database architecture. In database management system, the three-tier model consists of internal level, or we call it as physical level. This is internal level or physical level, where data is physically stored, and we have application level, also called it as conceptual level, where business rules and logics are applied, and the first layer is view level, that is user level, where users can interact with data through multiple views. So as a conclusion, why use a three-tier architecture? For faster development, different teams can develop each tier independently, and better security, the database is protected from direct user access, and scalability and performance, each tier can be upgraded separately. That concludes our discussion on three-tier architecture. I hope this session was informative. Thank you for watching this video.